Welcome to another episode of 9 to 5 Mac Weekly, where once again, we're going to spend more money on Apple stuff this year than ever before. I'm your host, Miles Somerville, and if you're a fan of good ideas, consider subscribing to the channel for future content like this. We're officially over a month away from the first Apple event of 2022, so let's break down what to expect at this event. So it's no secret that Apple usually holds an event around March or April every year, and this year's going to be no different. This is basically our warm-up lap as far as product announcements for the year go. And according to Mark Gurman from Bloomberg, Apple's targeting a date on or near March 8th to unveil two new products, possibly a third, and the first being an update to the iPhone SE. And based on current rumors, it seems like a lot of people are going to skip over this one. This iPhone SE 3 is going to probably be the most underwhelming Apple release of the entire year. Apple is essentially going to bring three major features, if you want to call them that, those being 5G, an improved camera, and a faster processor. The exact processor they're going with is the A15, so that's going to be a snappy little phone for sure. 5G is useful in certain scenarios, and an updated camera is nice, but based on leaks, this SE3 will have the same iPhone 8 body style with a physical home button, and that's honestly pretty wild to be doing in 2022. I know this is going to be a pretty affordable iPhone, and doing this keeps the cost down, but the battery is going to once again be a huge concern due to that design. The naming of this new SE is also pretty weird. It's supposedly going to be called iPhone SE Plus 5G. But the phone will still be 4.7 inches, which is not any larger than the current SE, so I guess the rules for Apple's naming scheme are going completely out the window, because now Plus doesn't even apply to the size of an iPhone anymore. But it's just a name, so we'll have to wait and see until the phone's released so we can judge it on its own merits. But long story short, there isn't really a whole lot of hype nor anticipation for this new iPhone SE, and I wonder, with the used iPhone market being a thing, if these will even sell that well. Apparently, this year's SE release is going to be so lackluster because the real SE3 or SE4 is going to be coming in 2023 or 2024. We don't really know at this point. But according to a tweet from Ross Young, the SE4 is going to either have a 5.7 or 6.1 inch display, and these claims have been backed by Ming-Chi Kuo many times in the past. It seems like this larger iPhone SE has been kicked down the production schedule a bunch of times now because it feels like we've been talking about this phone in rumor form for over 2 years. But either way, that'll probably be the SE to wait for unless you just need a new iPhone right now. The next product we're expecting to be revealed at this March event is an updated iPad Air, the 5th iteration. But what's exactly going to be different with this one? Well, there was initially a report that this iPad Air would be switching to an OLED panel like every new iPhone currently being sold, but apparently those plans fell through in production and Apple's going to stick with that trusty TFT LCD panel that they're currently using on the Air. So that's something that won't change, but we are expecting to get the A15 processor, which is to be expected for a tablet of this level. We can also expect 5G capability, which makes sense given the fact that this new iPad mini has 5G, and we're also hearing that the iPad Air 5 is going to feature a quad speaker setup, which would be a much welcomed improvement. I love the quad speaker system on the iPad Pro. But oddly enough, it seems like the bulk of the upgrades coming to the iPad Air 5 are going to be in the form of the front and rear camera getting improvements. We can firstly expect the Air's front-facing camera to be updated to a 12 megapixel sensor, which will be a notable improvement over the current 7 megapixel sensor we've got. But according to Maka Takara, the iPad Air is going to have a dual lens rear camera system, so you'll have a wide angle and ultra wide angle lens to use on the camera just like on the iPad Pro. There's also reportedly going to be a quad LED flash and center stage, which we got on the iPad mini. And then lastly, we're expecting a few new frame rate options for recording 1080p video, 25 and 30 FPS. Outside of new potential color options, that's more or less it as far as new features coming to this iPad Air 5. And I think if the price stays the same, then this will be a pretty solid deal. But as an iPad Air 4 owner, I'm not going to be like running to the Apple Store to upgrade outside of for the purpose of getting a review out for you guys. But this is going to be a solid update, and I'm hoping for a red color or something striking like that. Now, these two devices, the iPhone SE and iPad Air, are pretty much a sure thing as far as it being announced at this March event, but there could be a mystery Mac product launching at this event as well. At least that's what Mark Gurman had to say in his report. But I'm honestly scratching my head as far as which Mac I think it'll be. The first thought that comes to mind is the long-awaited 27-inch iMac with Apple Silicon, but apparently there's been further delays on that product, so we likely won't get that till the summer. There's also the new Mac Mini with the redesign that we've been hearing about, but the Mini is usually reserved for a fall release. Before I go with what I think a new Mac product could be at this event, I want to firstly give a hot take. What if it's not a new Mac product like entirely, but just a new iteration of an existing Mac product, aka a new color option for a new Mac product? Matte black MacBook Pro, anyone? But I'm thinking if there's gonna be an actual new Mac product launching at this event, it'll either be an update to the 13-inch MacBook Pro or the M1 MacBook Air. And we've heard quite a bit about this new MacBook Air. Apparently we can expect it to be packing an M2 processor, or at least that's what the processor is being called right now, and a mini LED display for a slightly higher price than the current Air. We are also expecting a full redesign like what we got with the new MacBook Pro, so if it does pan out to be a new MacBook Air, that'll definitely be the highlight of this event. No one will be talking about the iPad Air or iPhone SE. But outside of those computers, I can't imagine what other Mac product they'd reveal at a spring event. And personally, since there's no concrete leaks on what Mac could be revealed next week, I'm just gonna go into this event thinking that we're just getting the iPad Air and the iPhone SE in terms of hardware, but of course, I'd love to be surprised. But what do you guys think we're gonna be getting next month as far as a new Mac? Let us know in the comments section below. Let's look at some comments. Cujo YYC says, iMac Pro, okay, yeah. So clearly someone is excited for the new iMac. But as far as it launching at this event, I'm not sure. Like I said, there's been a lot of back and forth as far as when we're gonna see it, and given the trouble that Apple's been having getting a lot of mini LED displays made, I don't know. I think the chances are pretty slim, but I would love to be surprised and get this new iMac at this event. Joe Bias says, my hope is iPhone SE and iPad Air are quick mentions, not much fanfare, and then we focus on launching both M1 Pro, M1 Max, Mac Mini, and iMac Pro. That's an interesting comment, not just because he not only wants this new Mac Mini and iMac Pro to come out, but he wants these other products to just be like tiny little mentions and just have all the shine be on the Mac stuff, which makes sense, and I kind of feel the same way. But I definitely don't think we're getting two pieces of Mac hardware at this event, a Mac Mini and an iMac Pro. That would be kind of wild. That'd be a crazy spring event. I think there'd be a lot to talk about for sure, and a lot of money to be expelled. But we'll see. Michael Perry says, focusing on two of Apple's least expensive products suggests that each is special enough Apple wants to kick them off with a publicity bang. I hope this iPhone SE has better battery life than the old one, otherwise I might as well stick to my iPhone 6s. Wow. 6s, you've been really hanging in there, buddy. Well, I definitely hope this iPhone SE has better battery life as well. I think that's the big thing that everyone has said, and that seems to be Apple's current small phone problem. They can't seem to get the batteries quite right as of yet, but hopefully they do. But I don't think they're gonna have major marketing campaigns for these devices, quite honestly, at least compared to the stuff they release in the fall. But it'll be interesting to see what they do. Belgian Waffle says they better didn't forget to put a battery inside the new iPhone SE, because imagine the current SE with 5G, as its battery life already isn't great. Yeah, the way you wrote that sentence wasn't great either, but yeah, I think the battery life is, like I said, the biggest concern that everyone's got for this new iPhone SE 5G. And my question is, is 5G worth it for what the potential cost of the battery could be? We're gonna see. Can't wait for Mac Mini M1 Max. Man, that is a handful of a name. Robert Newman says, an iPhone SE and iPad Air are not an event. If this is all they have, it could have been a press release. If they have an event, they must have more. If there's a new iMac, that will be much more of a focus than an iPhone SE or iPad Air. And I agree. I think there's definitely something missing here as far as this event, because the iPad Air and iPhone SE, those are good products, but I mean, it's not gonna make for a very strong event as far as, the press and, the media covering it. These products are definitely online press release worthy and not really worthy of a dedicated event, if you ask me. So I think something else is coming, and I think the more I think about it, I think the more of a chance there is that this iMac is going to come at this event next month, because if it's not a new MacBook Air and it's not an update to the 13-inch MacBook Pro, what could it be? We're only going to learn more and more about this event as the days go by, and hopefully we'll have some more accurate info on pricing and availability of these devices before the event so everyone can kind of get their wallets ready. But if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for future content like this, because we'll surely be covering these devices when they're launched and announced at this event. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.